Of all the cars that you could get in diecast form, is a Volvo something that you would typically think of as an exciting vehicle? For me, it definitely is. So we have from Tarmac Works, we have the second release of this Volvo 242. This time it is a Road 64 release. We had seen this previously in a racing version, which was pretty cool. That was this one. And that in itself was a very exciting release to me, just because it's, Volvos are pretty unusual cars to see in diecast. There are a few around. Hot Wheels obviously has a few castings. Matchbox has some castings, but there aren't, at least in the premium, super premium level, there's not a whole lot out there. But Tarmac Works, they obviously have a Volvo license and are now starting to put these out, which is pretty cool. Although Tarmac Works as a brand is always a little iffy on the quality, so we do have to make sure we temper our expectations before we take this thing off the base, because otherwise they can be a little bit of a disappointing thing. But I go into Tarmac Works with the expectation of it, it's probably going to have some things that aren't perfect on it. And I'm okay with that, because it's the casting, it's the core release that I'm really after. If the details aren't perfect, then it is what it is. But at least the front end details on this look really nice. So you have lensed headlights, and you'll have lensed taillights, and so on and so forth, like all Tarmac Works releases. The louvered rear window is pretty cool. So you have lensed taillights. They look a little plasticky, but not too bad. And the wheels could really use a little bit more black wash or something to kind of give them a little bit more depth. It looks like they may have put some in there, but it's a little light. But overall it's pretty cool. Separate pieces for the windshield wipers. And still plastic base, so metal body, plastic base, rubber tires, and this is probably not going to roll. Yeah, it doesn't really roll. I mean, I guess if you really push on it, it will roll, but it's super rough. I don't really consider that to be a roller. The racing version didn't roll either, so that's a little bit disappointing, because there really is no reason that this casting shouldn't roll, other than it's just Tarmac didn't put the effort into making it roll. But overall, this is a pretty good release from Tarmac. I don't see any obvious issues with it. Nothing looks janky to me, so other than the rolling, but that's just the way the casting is, so accept that. It's cool. I like it, and super happy to have that car. Just to love, for some reason I just love Volvos. I always have, even when I was a little kid. I remember driving by the Volvo dealership and thinking, oh man, those boxy cars are super cool. And I have continued to do that and continue to appreciate them even as an adult. I'm really not sure why. Next we have some Porsche 917 Gulf livery Porsches from Sparky. So we are going to actually have 3 of these to look at. So I'm not a huge collector of the Gulf livery, but when the Gulf livery is applied in a historic context, as it is on these releases, I'm a huge fan. So these are the JW Automotive Porsche 917s that ran at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1970. And there were quite a few Porsche 917s in the race that year. There were actually 8 that were run by 4 different teams, and JW Automotive was one of the more dominant teams coming into the race. But it turns out that even though these Porsche, or these Gulf Porsches, were super famous after the race because they were super dominant for the entire 1970 season, none of these cars finished the race. So they did not, even though they were very dominant, won 7 of the 10 races that year. They did not win at Le Mans. Porsche did win at Le Mans that year, but not with one of these Gulf livery cars. So we will see the race-winning car. We'll probably see that next week. But these releases from Sparky are fantastic for what they are. I mean, they're relatively inexpensive, so they cost about $10 in the U.S. And they have the liveries and what have you that they have put on them are pretty accurate, and they have done a reasonably good job on the details of the casting. Not a whole lot of detail in the base, but otherwise, this is the, at least that I've seen so far, this is the best 917 in 1/64 scale. It is not a super premium level of diecast, but for me, as a huge fan of race cars and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, it's good enough. And the important thing is that they accurately captured the liveries that were run on the cars in the race. So you can see that even though they all run the Gulf livery, there were variations in each of the 3 cars that ran in this livery, or with the Gulf sponsorship. So these are very cool releases to me. Very happy to have them, and these are now the up to 4 on the releases of these Sparky Porsches. This was the first one in the Martini livery that I picked up. I ordered this one from China, but these are now available in the U.S., so they're much less expensive. So they're, like I said, they're about $10, which is I think it's a tremendous value in reality. So let's see, do these roll? Not really. Not really. No. That one does. So a little hit and miss. That one does not. So it seems like you have a 25% chance of getting one that might roll. But yeah, awesome casting otherwise. Love those. Next, we have from Aerocar, another version of this Lexus LC 500. Somebody in the comments had said that the yellow version was the best version. So, I listened to people in the comments and ordered one. The first version of this that I got was the gray one, kind of a metallic gray, which I was a little disappointed in. I don't really like the wheels on this one. I think the fact that you can see through the spokes is a little bit problematic. But the yellow one looks good, and then there was also this police version. And I think for me, I'm probably going to say that the police version is going to be my favorite. The yellow one looks pretty cool. Looks like the hood doesn't sit quite right on this one. It does have an opening hood. Let's see in there. Yeah, that doesn't sit quite right, which is unfortunate. I have not had a whole lot of quality problems with Aerocar. I know some people have, but I really haven't. Oh, this has a white interior. That's interesting. And other than maybe some of the doors on them haven't been super flush, but that's not usually been too much of an issue. This one probably has the most quality issues of any Aerocar casting that I've picked up. So the hood doesn't close quite right, and this door doesn't close quite right either. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty cool casting. I think they brought out 5 of these. Actually, I think I have the card. Yeah, so we can look at this. There's more. There's 6 because there's the police car, and then there's a safety car, and then 4 just solid color releases. This is going to be the last one of these that I pick up. And yeah, for me, the police version's still the best one, but that's cool. All right, moving on. Next, from Mini GT, we have a Porsche 911 Targa 4S in white. This is very cool. I'm a huge fan of the regular 911 4S that Mini GT does. such a beautiful car. Very well done by Mini GT. Oh, and this one's just Mini GT. The out of the box experience with Mini GT is always just so cool, because this is gorgeous. Yeah, that's really cool. Mini GT is definitely the brand to beat in the premium die-cast realm. Yeah, this looks cool. Quad tailpipes. And not a whole lot of detail on the base, but and the interior is just all black, so there's no additional detail on the interior, which is typical for a Mini GT. But yeah, this is cool. So this is the 4S. So this would be the 4S version of the hardtop in silver. So as the quad tailpipes, and then there was this version, which just has dual tailpipes and different wheels. But yeah, this is fantastic. Love it. Yeah, super cool. Super cool. All right. Next, from M2 1949 Mercury, custom and just kind of a blacked out with flames look. I thought this one looked pretty awesome. M2 has obviously been something I've been picking up quite a bit more recently. I know a lot of people are a little iffy on the brand, and I was definitely in that boat for a long time. But my opinion has changed. I did the Beyond Hot Wheels episode on M2 and talked about how my opinion of the brand has changed over the last 6 months or so. And I have begun collecting M2 models along with everything else. And this one just, yeah, this looks awesome to me. I love these old cars. And I had expected this one to have an opening hood, but it does not seem to have any opening parts on it. This is one of the M2s that is a metal body, metal base. And apparently they did not tool this with any opening parts. So that's kind of interesting. But it looks cool. Love the blacked out look with the blue flames. It's fantastic. Has blue windows, which is a little weird, but it works. Works on the car. So awesome. Love it. And nothing fell off of it. Pulling it out of the box. I mean, that's been the real thing that's changed my opinion of M2 over the last 6 months. I had a abysmal opinion of their quality control, but for the last 6 months, I haven't had too many problems. So we'll see if that continues. I think there's 3 more M2s in this video, so we'll see if that continues, or if we have more problems. So we have 1970 Chevrolet Camaro from Greenlight, part of the Vintage Ad Cars Series 6. Love the Vintage Ad Cars series. These cards with the vintage ads on them are fun and always cool to check out. And this is the first version of this casting that I've picked up, I believe. And this looked like a pretty nice looking version of it. So you've got something here on the front fender. I'm not sure what that is. Just a logo. Don't know what that means. It's some kind of gasket, Mr. Gasket Company. It's this logo here on the front fender. Interesting. So this painted headlights, those could look a little better, but yeah. Painted taillights. This looks like it has an opening hood. Yep, that's good. And it actually opens. Come on, had it open. There we go. Yeah, I like it. This is a car that is, and one of many that is growing on me. I was when I started collecting diecast, I definitely would not have considered myself a fan of the early 70s Camaros, or really Camaros at all. But I have learned to appreciate them, as is the case with many things, including square body pickups. Along the way here, I was warned to not buy too many square body pickups because I would end up buying more. And, well, unfortunately, that has proven to be true. And now I have even expanded into M2 and their square bodies. As most people know, Auto Worlds, they have the best version of the square body in reality, especially if you want accurate releases, or like the replicas of the real world vehicles. So this actually is a replica of a real world vehicle. So this is a limited edition, 8,250 pieces. It's a hobby exclusive. Mongoose Factory Team is a BMX team, and they do have a truck that looks quite a bit like this. And we will get this off of the base. Obviously, M2's version of this square body is a little bit large. It is not 1/64 scale. And they definitely tend to do it in more, fanciful, customized versions. But this one does attempt to reproduce a real-world customized vehicle. So right up M2's alley. And so ABA is the American Bicycle Association, or yeah, it's bicycle, isn't it? Or BMX? Was it BMX? Oh man, I'm going to fail. So when I was a teenager, for 8 years, I actually rode Flatland Freestyle BMX, and used to go to races and do tricks in the in the parking lot around the racetrack. I never raced, but I was really into the BMX world at the time, and did demos all over the place, and had a lot of fun doing that. And if you've never seen Flatland BMX, you should check it out. It's kind of mind-blowing, the stuff that can be done on a bicycle, and the way the sport has progressed over the last 25 years is just amazing. This looks really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's an M2 square body pickup. It's it's a 1979 version apparently, and metal base, rubber tires, some of the nicer looking wheels from an M2. Or I mean, I'm looking at the base and talking about the tires. They seem to fit better. I'm not actually a huge fan of these wheels, but they're trying to replicate the real vehicle, so it had similar style wheels, not exactly like this, but similar. So cool, love that one as well. Very cool. All right. Next up, we have a new Kaido House Datsun 510. I know a lot of people are getting really tired of Datsun 510s, and to a certain extent, I'm with you. But these Kaido House releases are hard to resist because they are really cool. And I've got some tape here that I'm going to have to cut in order to get this open. This is the first release of the wagon version of the 510. And of course it is in green. And yeah, I don't know. These are just cool. I mean, this is definitely an example of, what you would consider kind of in its own way, an automotive art. It's just cool. So they actually did the mirrors on this one. That's pretty cool. So on the original releases of these, they did not do the mirrors, which I'm not sure why that is. But so same Kaido House base. So this is a, it has Mini GT, this collaboration. Mini GT manufactures these, but this is really a Kaido House product more than it is really a Mini GT product. And they are, as everybody points out, not 1/64 scale. And this hood is not going to open. There it goes. So it's cool. Let's see. Let's compare it to the engine on this one. Are they the same? Yeah, they seem to be pretty much. Maybe not. Yeah, they're a little different. It looks like the wagon version has a little bit more detail. So that's cool. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a gazillion of these. It just seems to be Kaido House's way. I mean, they have done, I don't know how many of these now, 10 probably already in the last year. So there's going to be a ton of these as well. But they are adding more castings slowly. So they have, I believe, a Datsun, either a 270 or 260 Z, which is going to be, of a similar style with crazy fendered flares or flared fenders and those kind of things, slammed, all that kind of good stuff. And then they just showed a tooling for Nissan R34, so Skyline R34, which again, similar style, that they showed a 3D printed version of that. So, okay. Anyway, enough of that. It's cool. We'll see a bunch of those. I'm not sure how many I'm going to be picking up, but I've had a hard time resisting the other version, so we'll see. All right, so this is from Xcartoys. This is the Lynk & Co. Cayenne Racing TCM car. And Xcartoys we have seen a few times, and as a kind of a premium diecast brand, but not true, more in the category of a toy. This is definitely in the category of a super premium diecast. So I'm gonna get this thing out of the package and see what Xcartoys does with super premium. Have not seen anything of this at this level from Xcartoys yet, so take a look at the base here. It looks pretty cool, and it's an interesting car. So Lynk & Co. is a Chinese car manufacturer, and Cayenne Racing is just a team that prepares and runs the cars at races. They used to be tied up with Volvo and ran the Volvo, I believe, V60 in the WTCC World Touring Car Championship. And now I believe they may run this car. I think this car runs in the WTCC, but I'm not 100% sure. I should have looked that up. But it's a very cool livery. I like the way they do the Cayenne there. And the headlights, this is the distinctive thing about this car. These headlights here are really weird. And the street car version of this is actually pretty wacky looking because of that. They definitely tried to go for something distinctive there. But this is pretty nice. I mean, it's a metal body, metal base, rubber tires. Got actually pretty nice looking lens taillights. And, not terrible looking lens headlights. And think it's probably going to roll too. Slick tires, which should be appropriate. Oh yeah, it rolls quite well actually. The interior, you have a roll cage, looks pretty thick. The plastic for that looks maybe a little overdone. Got some single driver seat in there. So yeah, this is kind of more of a, well, I mean, I guess it is probably a step above a Mini GT. Like, I think the quality of the lens, the lens work on the headlights and taillights is probably a little bit better than Mini GT would do. It feels a lot like a Mini GT because it has metal body, metal base. Rolls nicely like a Mini GT would. It is more expensive than a Mini GT. But it's not up to the level of, say, an Inno64 though, as far as the detail that it captures. I think it's as far as what the casting captures is probably more in the somewhere between a Mini GT and an Inno64. But the price point is around an Inno64 price, maybe even a little bit higher. But still, it's cool. Happy to have this car. It's a very unique car, and love the Cayenne Racing livery that it has. So very cool. Next from M2, we have a Chrysler 300C in this Y-end speed and racing equipment. We'll just take a quick look at this. This is probably not the most exciting casting in the world to most people. I personally like this car. This car, not this particular release, but this model was the first M2 that I ever purchased. Was a version of this in the Auto Driver series, like this one, and I like this one better. This one looks much cooler. I'm not so big on this branding here. I think the car would look way better if that was not there, and especially that on the hood. But it's got a cool look otherwise. Like the gold wheels with the Goodyear on the tires. Looks nice. Painted taillights and painted headlights as you would expect to find in an Auto Driver's release. So it's cool. I like it, even with the goofy graphics on it. Next, from the Thelma and Louise release. So this is a Greenlight Hollywood. This was a special release that they did, just focused on cars from Thelma and Louise. So this is a 1984 Dodge Diplomat in police livery. I think this is New Mexico. So the reason I picked up a case of these, and yeah, New Mexico State Police. Picked up a case of these because it had 3 Arizona police cars in it. And we got a little crooked bumper bar here, dirty windows. All right, well, let's not. It's a Greenlight, like, you know, my discussion on Tarmac Works earlier. I buy Greenlight. I expect it's going to have issues to some extent. I'm not super fussed about them anymore because we're looking at them on camera. You know, we're looking at them under very bright lights and often with magnification. And it really highlights the flaws that realistically, when you look at them with the naked eye, they don't really stand out that much. Sometimes. I mean, some are worse than others, you know. But a lot of the issues that I see on camera don't really bother me on the car off camera. Especially like the smudged windows and stuff. That looks really bad on camera because the light reflects off of it. But under more normal lighting and not zoomed in, it doesn't bother me. But this is a really cool looking version of this police car. I actually really like this. I like the wheels. Black with the chrome hubcaps. Looks really nice. Like that light bar as well. Yeah, very cool. This actually has lensed headlights and taillights. Yeah, cool. I mean, I guess this casting is one that sits kind of low. The stance probably isn't quite right for it, but I like it. Still looks really cool. Be a great addition to the police car collection. Although I'll need to look up and see if that New Mexico State Police livery is a real livery, if it was just something that they used in the movie. All right. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we have from Tarmac Works, Road 64 release again. This is the Toyota Supra. This is a brand new casting that they have just put out. And they've done a couple initial versions of this. Like the Volvo, they did a racing version or two. I think there may even be a couple different racing versions. And then this street version. So this is number 989. So Tarmac Works, they say these are limited, but they don't ever tell you how many they make. They tell you the number on it, but not how many they actually make. Which is not very helpful, I guess, if you care about the limited nature of things and like to collect things that are rare. It doesn't tell you whether something is rare or not. But all right. I like this version of the Supra. I'm glad to see somebody doing one of the earlier Supras. You know, Auto World and Mini GT both did the same version of the Supra. I'm going to forget the year, but their versions are very similar. But with Tarmac, we get an earlier release. This doesn't tell you the model year on it. But, and again, this is not going to roll. Yeah, there's no reason for that. I mean, I guess Tarmac Works just doesn't expect people to take their cars off the basis. You know, they come in this package, they just assume that people are going to keep it on this base and they're not going to remove it, I guess. But I think that's a mistake, because there's no reason that these shouldn't roll. It looks pretty nice. There's not really anything I can complain about other than the fact it doesn't roll. It's a nice. Yeah, I don't even know that I have anything to say about this. I mean, there are no calipers in the wheels. So if you're going to give up rolling and put in brake discs, well, maybe there are calipers in there. Actually, let's see if we can take advantage of our ability to zoom. And looks like maybe, yeah, there are actually calipers in there. Anyway, all right, cool. Oh well, glad to see it. It's a cool car, cool release. Nothing major wrong with it, really. Windows are maybe a little dirty. It's a little hard to see through there, but yeah, actually those are really kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's just a fingerprint. All right, I'll mess with that later. But so cool. Happy to see that. Wish it rolled, but it is what it is. Tarmac Works, that level of stuff, you know, most of them don't roll. It's rare that you will actually get one that does. The Hobby 64, or not Hobby 64, the Global 64 stuff will typically roll, but not the Hobby 64 or Road 64. All right. 1974 Ford Grand Torino Sport from Greenlight, GL Muscle, Series 26. I think I just picked up a couple of these. I think I also picked up this Javelin. This looks really cool in blue. The only other version of this Greenlight I have is the Starsky and Hutch version, which is really cool. But I wanted a more stock looking version. And this is cool. So the headlights are a little crooked. It's yeah, that's actually a little disappointing. That is an issue that I will notice just looking at it off camera. So I don't think this hood's gonna open. Oh, yeah, it did. All right. It's cool. Got lettering on the tires. It's cool. BF Goodrich. Actually looks pretty decent too. Except for that one. 3 of the 4, which is, you know, for Greenlight is not bad. Cool. Yeah, like it. Happy to have it. Has a couple minor issues, which is, you know, it's Greenlight. All right, M2. This is the 1970 Ford Torino GT, 429 SCJ. This is auto drivers, so it's from release 82. And we'll get M2's take on the Torino, a little earlier model year, different generation. But definitely much lighter than the Greenlight, since this has a plastic base. They don't have any headlights on the front, so nothing for them to screw up with that. And yeah, it's kind of cool. It looks like that's super wonky. The axle or something's off. That's probably fixable. Just need to mess with these wheels a little bit, but casting itself looks really good. So let's see, compared to this one, how much bigger? Actually, the M2's pretty much the same size. I mean, these are different generations of the car, but you would expect them to be roughly the same size. So this is probably an example of an M2 that is actually 1/64 scale. Some of them are, some of them are not. This one, at least assuming that the Greenlight is 1/64 scale, and Greenlight most of the time does seem to be. I haven't seen any major discrepancies in that regard from Greenlight, although maybe some of their very early castings, which this probably is a fairly old casting. Let's see if I can see the tooling number on here. It looks like it's right there, if I can get it to GL. No, it's actually not. Can't. 135. Yeah, so this is not an old casting. So this should definitely be 1/64 scale. So M2 actually is this one is actually 1/64 scale, which is cool. But yeah, cool. Gonna need to fix those wheels though, because that is pretty wobbly. It does roll, even if it's a little wobbly. It does roll. I'll put you back there. All right, and then from Greenlight in the Lowriders series, we have the 1973 Cadillac Sandevil. And this Cadillac is just such a cool casting. And hopefully we get a good one. Oh, wow. It's a beautiful color. I don't know how well it comes through on camera, but to the naked eye, that's a really nice color. Not a whole lot going on with this one. It looks pretty stock looking paint job in reality. But got the lowered stance, white wall tires. Oh, look at that. They're round. Unbelievable. That one's a little bit off. That one's actually pretty good. Huh, look at that. Greenlight white walls that are actually reasonably well done. Yeah, this is such a cool release. Back end looks fantastic. It does have the bumper issue that every version of this seems to have. So I've talked about this before. If you remove the bumper on this, there's a little bit of flashing. I think you can actually see it right there. It's from this grill piece. They're the sprue connector points, they don't cut those cleanly enough. And then when they put the bumper on, it pushes them, and you end up with a crooked bumper like that. It's easy to fix if you can get the bumper off. And then you can just super glue it back on. It's unfortunate that you have to do that, but this is just such a cool casting. It's worth it. Love this. And this is probably the best version of this so far. Looks awesome. Love it. All right. Thank you for watching.